conference on Syria opens in Switzerland. Deadly clashes in Ukraine. I'm Jim Stevenson reporting from Washington. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says enough is enough in Syria, calling the civil war there a breeding ground for extremists and terrorists. During the first day of Syrian peace talks in Montreux, Switzerland Wednesday, Mr. Ban said he does not expect any instant breakthroughs. The United States and Russia are sponsoring the meeting. More than 40 delegations are attending. The UN says the goal of the talks is setting up a transitional government in Syria. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says there's no way Syrian President Bashar al-Assad can stay in power, calling him a magnet of terrorism. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says Iran did not agree to dismantle anything in the recent nuclear deal with the United States and 5 other countries. Zarif told CNN television Wednesday that the White House version of the agreement overplays Iranian commitments. He said Iran is not dismantling any centrifuges or equipment. He says all Iran is doing is not enriching uranium over 5%. Anything above that could be used to build a nuclear weapon. He challenged anyone to find the word dismantling in the text of the treaty. U.S. officials have yet to respond to the interview. Officials in Ukraine say 3 anti-government protesters have died in the capital Kiev in new clashes with police. 2 protesters were reported to have gunshot wounds. A medical officer says another activist fell to his death at the site of the clashes. Reports say the police were trying to dismantle a protest camp in Kiev Wednesday and fired tear gas at demonstrators who responded by hurling stones and homemade explosives at police. The Olympic committees of several European countries say they have received messages containing terrorist threats connected to next month's Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. The Hungarian, German, Italian, and Slovenian Olympic committees say the messages threaten their athletes. They say some are handwritten, others emailed in Russian and in English. Pakistan's military released new details about airstrikes it launched in North Waziristan on Monday. Ayaz Gul has details.
Pakistani warplanes are reported to have continued bombing suspected militant hideouts in the North Waziristan tribal district, a hub for local and foreign militants linked to Al-Qaeda. Military sources on Wednesday said that 33 Uzbekistan nationals and 3 Germans are among the militants killed in the airstrike. They say that several terrorist commanders are among the dead. The fighting has reportedly caused civilian casualties and forced residents to flee. Army sources say the offensive is meant to punish those behind recent suicide bombings and other deadly terrorist attacks that mostly killed Pakistani troops. Ayaz Gul for VOA News, Islamabad.
Officials in South Sudan have accused anti-government forces of killing 127 hospital patients in Bor, a strategic town that has changed hands several times since fighting erupted in mid-December. The government says the patients were killed during an attack by forces loyal to former Vice President Riek Machar. An opposition representative denies the accusations. Police used tear gas outside a court in northern Nigeria to disperse an angry mob throwing rocks at prisoners accused of being gay. Heather Murdoch has more from Abuja.
Scores of young men appeared outside an Islamic court on Wednesday in Bauchi, Nigeria, as 9 men, including a high school principal, were brought in for trial. Outside the courthouse, the crowd shouted, "God will punish you," as the defendant's vehicle approached. After rocks were thrown at the vehicle, the police dispersed the crowd with tear gas. The only damage was to a nearby car. Homosexuality is illegal in Nigeria, and a new law bans gay organizations and says gay marriages are punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Heather Murdoch for VOA News, Abuja.
Abortion opponents braved bitter cold weather to march in Washington to protest legalized abortion in the United States. Tens of thousands gathered Wednesday on the National Mall for the annual March for Life, held on the anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark Roe v. Wade decision that made abortion a constitutional right for women. Prayer vigils led up to the rally and a march to Capitol Hill and the Supreme Court. Pope Francis sent his support for Wednesday's anti-abortion march in a message on the social media site Twitter. More on our website at voanews.com. I'm Jim Stevenson, VOA News.
Bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Switzerland, deadly clashes in Ukraine. I'm Jim Stevenson reporting from Washington.
Good evening, my fellow Patriots, my fellow Americans. I think we might have this worked out. I don't know. I don't know. We're still working it out a little bit here at the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. I hope you enjoyed the little news prep that we're doing there. It's a new service. It's actually, we have two services that we are now able to get because we are classified, believe it or not, as a legitimate, check this out, legitimate news source. That's right. That's right. We're in the group with the big boys, and now all I have to do is go and fill out the paperwork and get a press pass for the city of Chicago. And then I can aggravate Rahm Emanuel. No, seriously. You know, one thing, we joke about that. We joke about the city, but it's actually serious. In the city of Chicago, believe it or not, in order to take pictures of a protest or a news event or anything of that, you actually have to be registered with the city. And it's the same in New York City as well. You actually have to be registered with the city in order to take pictures or to cover a news event. I remember one time years ago, I was had my camera. I was out there covering the war protest in Afghanistan. And Reverend Jesse Jackson was there. And I'll say this. I mean, he was there, got some great, incredible pictures, just some incredible pictures. I was actually walking in front of the main protest, and I was taking pictures. Got just an outstanding picture. I'll have to dig that out and get it posted. But it's got, it was kind of neat because it's got Reverend Jesse Jackson, which, you know, I don't really like the guy, but it's a neat picture. He's in arms and arm. There's a lady on one arm. There's a guy in a wheelchair on another. It's a wall of people, and they're all holding arm in arm. There is another guy who's on his cell phone, and he's in his group of people, and they're locked arm in arm, and one guy, you know, he's still locked arm in arm, and he's down there, and he's with his cell phone. You know, it's just an outstanding picture. Well, of course, Chicago PD and all of their military wear was standing there, and a couple officers came up. They encircled me as I was taking pictures, and they wanted to know where my press pass was. And I said, "What press pass? What do you mean?" And apparently, in the city of Chicago, I got a ticket. In the city of Chicago, you have to, in order to take pictures of a protest or any news event or what they deem a news event, you actually have to apply. You have to apply for a press pass through the city. And you have to be part of a legitimate, what they consider, you know, a legitimate news source. So now, guess what? I am, just in spite, I am going down to Chicago now because we are considered a legitimate news source. That's why we can get the feeds that we get. That's why we're able to get routers and everything. And I am going to go down just in spite. And I am going to get my press pass. And if there's any one of you out there that's listening tonight and you want to get a press pass and be a correspondent for the Midnight Patriot or Patriot FB, just let me know. I'll send you the paperwork. You take it down and you can get your press pass. and then you can help cover some of these events that are going across this great nation of ours. So tonight we got a full show. Got a lot of news that we're going to be covering tonight. Last night was a great show. You know, it was we had a good time with Stone. You know, it was on, raised some great points and stuff. Well, tonight, you know, Wednesday's typically kind of our fill-in night for news. Hopefully, we are hoping that we have some of the issues worked out with our audio system. It did work. There was a little hiccup there at the beginning, but I was able to catch it and everything. So we'll work through it. We'll work through it, and I'll just kind of old-time radio here, kind of watch the buttons. Can't put it on autopilot just yet, but we are with our new format and everything, and especially tonight since we're going to be doing a lot of talking, we switched over our news format. But if you'd like to join in the conversation, please give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870 or 262-997-0607. That's 262-997-0607. We have open lines tonight, so you can call in, talk about whatever you want to talk about. We're here for you. I've always said that this show, unlike the other shows that are on Patriot FB, this show is for you. If there's a topic you want to talk about, if there's something that's just under your crawl, as Homer would say, Homer Simpson. If there's something that you want to discuss, feel free to give us a call. You know, this is I've always said, I'm just the track. Your message, your voice, this movement, this Patriot movement is the train. My job is just to kind of keep it going in the right direction. Every once in a while, make sure we get in the station on time. So if you would love to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870 or 262-997-0607. We'd love to hear from you. So tonight's topic, you know, got a couple things. Got some shout-outs that I got to give out to freedomprepper.com. Get out to their website. I was actually reading I was out at Freedom Prepper site today. A lot of great posts. Just incredible posts that they're doing at Patriot FB. And, and I'm linking to them. Scott, keep up the great work. You and your wife and your writers that you guys got going on, just some really, really good stuff. I'll get you on the air one of these days. I'm going to get you. We're going to talk about your site and everything. The other thing, too, is get out there and support their efforts to support the men and women of uniform. You know, get out there. And what I'm talking about is they have shirts that they're selling. I don't know if we hit the number yet. We have to have so many before they can actually print them and everything. So get out there and take a look at those shirts. 22. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. For those that are new to the show, it's a little inside secret that we have. But 22. It's a number that we all should learn and memorize. You know, and part of that is that, you know, we've asked you on several occasions. For those that know the show, we always honor the men and women in uniform, especially those that have paid the ultimate price. And we're going to do that a little bit later on in the show. But we have asked you to go to your hometown, Google, put it in a Googler. Find the names of the soldiers from your hometown who have paid the ultimate price. Write their names down however you want to do it. If you want to do it fancy, I'm actually going to start a book with each name. And however you want to do it. Now I'm going to do every soldier nationwide. I'm going to put them in a book. Every name I read on the air. And I'm going to keep that with me. And, you know, but I ask that you do your hometown. You know, it's amazing. We know who Tom Brady is. We know who Peyton Manning is. We know who Hosa is. We know who, for those that don't watch hockey, he's a hockey player. I know. You know, that's a northern thing. I'm sorry. But we know who our athletes are, right? Do we know who the soldiers are that have paid the ultimate price? We don't. And that's unfortunate. So I ask of you to just get a piece of paper. You don't have to be fancy. Just write their names down. And then in the morning, sometime during the day, just say their name. Just say their name out loud. That's all you got to do. Now, if you really want to affect and make change, do it publicly. Say it out loud at work. Say it wherever you're going to say it. When you eat dinner, wherever, when you're around your coworkers at work, do it. And then, of course, naturally, they're going to ask. They're going to ask you, "What are you doing?" And the whole premise behind that is that you tell them, and maybe you can get them to do the same thing in their hometown, and then we start a movement here, grassroots movement of where every day, every soldier who has paid the ultimate price is honored and is remembered. That's the power of people. That type of movement is what we're all about here at the Midnight Patriot. Now we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to talk about items in the news. Iran, of course, don't know what you guys are talking about. Have no clue. Iran they're already coming back and saying, we don't know. We don't know what you're talking about. We're going to talk about that. Of course, we're going to talk about global warming. If you live in the Midwest, New York, global warming would sound good right about now, wouldn't it? So we'll have those conversations. Give you my take on it. We're also going to talk about Romania. It's apparently apprehended Guccifer, well-known international hacker. We'll see. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb or live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and visit stjude.org today.
Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
we're going to have to work on that a little bit. But you're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. If you haven't gone out there yet, it's a great site. I mean, it is growing. We are adding more and more members, and this thing is going to take off. We know it is. Last month, we had over 1.4 million hits, just under a million, or just over a million page views. It's just just incredible, and we're really proud of that. Very proud of the fact that we have taken off in such. I mean, it's just incredible. Just incredible, the amount that we take off. Now, so you guys don't know, I mean, we're kind of, our automation system is in play. We have we did some coding on it. It seems like it's working really well. Now we have a few issues, that we're working through. A couple things, and we're getting them, but it's a lot better than it was last night. I can tell you, it is a lot better than what it was last night. So, but we'll get through those issues, and we'll we shall overcome. We shall overcome. So, with that, right before we took the break, we were talking about Iran. It's almost comical. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no record. What agreement? We have no agreement. It's amazing. It's like the tale of two cities. It really is. It is the tale. It's not like, it is the tale of two cities here. We have our president who is over there basically creating a potential constitutional crisis. I have a pen and I have a phone. I'll do whatever I got to do as your president. I'll do what I'll bypass Congress if I have to get this deal done. Well, it doesn't sound like there's much of a deal. It's just amazing. And one of the things that one of the other news feeds that we're going to get, I don't know about you. I don't watch mainstream news anymore. I don't listen to CBS. I don't listen to them anymore. A huge source for news for me is RT. The BBC, I get some news from BBC. But we've also subscribed to another news service. The one that you heard was AOV, American Voice, which actually is sponsored by the government. However, I've done some research on them and everything. Even though they are sponsored by the government or funded by the government, they are independent journalists. They work independently. Now, I'm sure there is an editorial process that excludes certain information. So we are, so we're going to use them, but we're also going to use FNS, which is another service, which is actual and international. They have no ties to the American government whatsoever. So we're also going to be using them as well, and we'll get them fired up here in the next couple of days. So you guys also know some of the programming. So we have Objective. We will have a 30-minute news cast in the evening. We will also put one together in the morning. So that's exciting. So you'll get a full news show. On the weekends, we are working with a church. If you are a member of a church, I hope you're a member of a church, and your church actually records or makes MP3s or actually streams your services, please let us know, because we would like to get that on here and get it part of get it part of the Patriot Network. So it is important that we bring God back to the airways. And I'm not talking about, if your church, if your minister's always asking for money, don't bother. We just want good Bible teaching, good, but I'm not, no, I'm not even going to say their name. I'm not even going to do it. Get in trouble. But don't do it. So one of the questions on the chat room and everything is, where do we get the names of these soldiers? There is a site. I want to let you know. You can go to Military Times /Valor, VALOR. Now that will just give you the names of the soldiers. You're going to have to try to find the ones in your hometown. You can probably search through that. I believe you can, if I am correct. You can search that list. To answer your question, Scott. So going back to Iran, we made no deal. We made no deal. And I don't know if you guys know this. Iran, we reported on this yesterday. Iran is actually moving a flotilla. Well, I don't know. Flotilla. They're Navy. They got 2 ships. But they're moving them into the Atlantic to protect their interests. What are their interests? I don't know what interests they have. It is what it is. But, Iran, I am firmly of the belief that Iran is a threat to the Middle East. I am a firm believer that that if they could bait Israel into a war, they absolutely would. That's what they're trying to do. I also, though, believe that Iran, our government's got them in their sights for whatever reason. If it's to start a war, if it's to, and I believe there's a lot of baiting going on with our government. I've always said, even on this show, we don't have to go out and drug the bottom of the news barrel. There's enough news out there. We don't have to create things. I mean, I subscribe to the same services, the same websites that a lot of other podcasters subscribe to, and I got burned one time, and it was a great article. I was reading it, and at the end of the article, it talked about Godzilla. So I knew I got burned. It wasn't The Onion, so don't say it was The Onion. And so, if an article is questionable, I won't touch it until I can prove it. But I've always said that, we don't have to make stuff up. We don't have to troll at the bottom of the news barrel to get our ratings up. We don't have to, create a situation or fear, say, oh, they're going to have militia and they're going to start shooting people. And if you're a trucker and you're going to Washington, D.C., the National Guard is going to be there with their tanks. And we don't have to do that. We're not trying to sell you things. We're not trying to sell you books here at the Midnight Patriot. But I will say this about Iran. There is enough soundbite, enough information on Iran themselves that you don't have to make stuff up. You really don't. I mean, they do it. They do enough of it themselves. It takes you 20 minutes to do the research on what some of them believe. The troubling part is our administration is telling us, Curry, and telling us that we are, that we have a deal. But yet Iran is saying, what deal are you talking about? That's troublesome. Let's see the deal. I have yet to see the deal in writing. No one has yet put it out there. Put the deal out there. Put it on the White House, John Kerry. Put it on the State Department's website. Last time I checked, I think that still works. I don't care. Put it on Obamacare's website. I don't care. Put the deal out there so we can read it. Let us read the deal. that we supposedly had. But of course, this administration is not going to do that. They have no desire to tell the truth. None whatsoever. They can, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all vaporware. It's all vaporware. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. When we get back from the break, we're going to be talking about Guccifer, and we're also going to be talking about wood theft, believe it or not.
www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
That's right. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That is www.patriotfb.com. So, got a lot of feedback here. We're gonna boot here in a second. So give me 1 second. All right. There we go. Much better. Got a piece of equipment that is acting up. It's not behaving very well. But right before we took a break, right before we went on break, we were talking about the arrest or the apprehension of a Romanian hacker called Guccifer. Now, obviously, we talk about... I got the letter today. I did. I got a letter from Chase. Yeah, yes, I know. I use Chase because when I used to travel all over the place internationally, I do have another account, credit union, but our primary is Chase. But I got the letter today from Chase Banking telling me that my Chase card, once again, this is the fourth time, has been compromised. I don't even use it. That's the scary part. I don't even use my Chase card. So they didn't compromise my account by me using my Chase card. They actually hacked into Chase. They had to, because I don't use my card like that. I have, as I've talked about on this show many a times, I have secondary cards that we then move money into and use those disposables for protection. But I got the letter today from Chase. I didn't use them at Target. So it's just amazing. But today, they are talking Romanian police. Romanian police say they have catched hacker Guccifer, who allegedly broke into Colin Powell's email account. There you go. That's right. That's right. I am so happy that they got the man who mastermind Colin Powell's, break-in of his email account. I can go to bed at night knowing that Colin Powell's email, we got him. Yes. Waiting for the president to come out, have the Rose Garden, as he swaggers down the White House. We got him. Oh, whatever. As we see here, and I know millions of dollars or billions of dollars are compromised every day. I know that. But the reality of it is, it is the environment that these banks have created that allow this to happen. Now, can you truly secure a website? Can you? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. But it costs money. And the problem is, a lot of these banks, a lot of these financial institutions, a lot of these services, they don't spend the money. I know for a fact. I have been, won't tell you who they are, but a major healthcare, not provider, but supplier of healthcare, drugs and everything, retail, large retail store, chain. They had, they made a decision to offshore all of their development for whatever reason, but they made this decision to offshore their development. And they told everybody, oh yeah, it's secure. We have this super secret lockbox where only certain people with passes and stuff can get into it and all this stuff and blah, blah. And they went on and on and on and on. And I had one question for them because I didn't have what they call sanitized data. Sanitized data for the developers to use as they offshored. So their response was, well, let's ship them the production data. So they built this super secret lockbox to put all these servers in, right? But they didn't have dummy data. They didn't have sanitized or scrubbed data. They didn't bother to do it. They didn't pay for it. They didn't want to pay for it. So what do? They zip up actual production data and they send it overseas. And that happens quite a bit. You will be shocked. You will be appalled at how often that happens. How often your data is sitting on someone's laptops that you're sitting next to on the train or on the plane. It's amazing. But no, we got Guccifer. We got him. Yay, got him. I can sleep so much better now. On that note, when we get back from the break here, take another break. That's right, we are adhering to our schedule that we're supposed to. But when we get back from our break, we're going to talk about another hacker who has claimed that he has successfully hacked into the Obamacare again. Again. And he's got 70,000 account holders information. We've said that all along here at the Midnight Patriot. being a computer guy myself, I know how that works. And I know exactly how it works. Well, apparently this gentleman has hacked into it. So when we get back from the break, we're going to be talking about that. But if you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. We're going to be talking about also, when we get back from the break, relaxed dress codes in the military. It's coming to a duty station near you. We'll talk about that and what does that mean. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast.
To thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Resources are available for military families. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
You are listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web 24/7 at www.themidnightpatriot.com. That is www.themidnightpatriot.com, which will actually redirect you to our new site, which is Patriot FB. But you can get to us at both sites. Now, what is Patriot FB? Patriot FB is a site made for patriots by patriots. That's right. No cute kittens there. No grumpy. Well, yeah, we had Grumpy Cat, but they did that in spite of me. They put that out there because I said no Grumpy Cat, so someone actually put it out there as a joke. But we're a site for patriots by patriots. And getting back to sites, I know Freedom Prepper just told me having some serious server problems. Well, guess what? Join the club today. I don't know if you guys are out at patriotradio.com, but I've been working with our internet provider today, and apparently they don't know what's going on, but they had to reset a bunch of stuff, had to clear out a bunch of things on routers and do things, and but our feeds were cutting in and out. You get about a minute, and it would cut off for about 30 seconds. They have no idea what caused it. I don't know. I was told to stop being so paranoid. But I don't know. I can't tell you. I have no clue why it was doing that. But Freedom Forever, keep your chin up, man. I wish I could help you, but it's the same problem. the same exact problem here at our show. But getting back to the military. The military, we're a kinder, gentler military. We now allow women in combat because, that's the way. We now allow gays openly to be gay. there's so many things I can say about that and stuff. The Marine Corps, actually said, well, yeah, women can be in combat as long as they can pass the standard physical. Well, now, of course, we're finding out that the women can't pass the standard physical. I'm not in the military. I don't know. I'm, a little indifferent. I mean, I can tell you a man is physically built completely different than a female. We're built for ground pounding. That's what, men. And I'm sorry. I know you feminists out there. Feel that you need to be in the military and do that. Well, you know what? Sign up. If you can pass the same physical requirements as a man, more power to you. I'm all for it. That's what you want to do, then do it. But the problem is this. I want to be in the military. I do. I think I should be able to serve my country. As I'm out of shape, overweight, old. But no, I should do it. It's not fair. It's not fair. They have these physical requirements. They have these gender requirements for a reason. It's built upon years and years and centuries of knowledge. But of course, this administration has complete disdain for our men and women of the uniform. So what else? Dilute them. Make it no longer an elite group. Make it no longer the few, the proud. Make it no longer that. Diminish it. The best way to dismantle a military is get it to the point to where no one wants, because our military is a volunteer service. You're not compelled. It's all volunteer. So the best way to shrink the size of the military is to diminish it. Now, for me, I think the best way to shrink the size of the military is make it more difficult. But of course, the Dems never think about hiring the bar. They're all about lowering the bar. So, but getting back to the new lowering of the bar, and I don't know if I'm different. I got to read a little bit more about this. But today, the Pentagon is now going to relax rules on personal religious wear, including beards and turbans. That's right. Beards and turbans. Same military that won't allow you to have a cross tattoo on your forearm. It has to be covered. So does that mean I can do that? Does that mean I can get a cross? I can get a religion? No, of course not. Does that mean that I can grow a beard? Because the Old Testament tells me I can. That is a sign of wisdom, obedience to God. Does that mean that I can wear my lid indoors, cover my head in the eyes of God? Turbans. One of the things about military is there was this notion of standardization. And the reason why we standardized all soldiers is my understanding that all soldiers were standardized in their appearance was because all soldiers are the same at rank. A private is a private is a private. Corporal, major, captain, colonel, right? And if you look at other than the insignia on the uniforms, if you look at from the private all the way up to the 4-star general. They have the same grooming standards, the same dress standards. Because in the military, you're not an individual. The key to the military, the key to its success, and the reason why our military is so incredibly powerful is the unselfishness of the soldiers and the fact that they are taught from day one they're not an individual. They are a team. They are a unit. They are a cohesive group. The individualism is taken out of it. So now this administration, this government, is going to put that right back in. The individual. Their little experiment, it's working. They are completely destroying our U.S. military. And they're doing it on their side. Well, no one's going to complain about religious wear. Well, okay, fine. I'm going to grow a beard and I'm going to put a military tattoo on my arm. See how that floats with the generals. But just incredibly unbelievable. We're going to take another break. We are on the new system. As you can see, it is forcing me to take a break. It's my government. It's Big Brother. It's Big Radio. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com or right here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time at patriotfb.com. Click on the radio banner. You can also listen to old podcasts. Had a great one yesterday with Stone. But we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the Major League Baseball. Some of the changes coming to the local baseball parks near you.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I'm Eric Kipple, 10-year veteran of the NFL. I'm Captain Mark McNeil, 16-year veteran of the Army National Guard. Whether on the playing field or the battlefield, you must be both physically and mentally fit. If you're injured, you owe it to yourself and your teammates to get back to peak performance. It doesn't matter if you've got a broken bone, depression, a traumatic brain injury, PTSD, or another psychological wound. Getting help shows strength, not weakness. To find out more, go to realwarriors.net or call 866-966-1020.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host. I am your track. You guys are the train. Your message, your patriotism is the train. I am just the track. I'm just here to make sure you get there safely and on time. I don't know if I really like this new talk format that we're doing. But it is what it is. You know, we have to pace ourselves, and that's exactly what we're doing here at the Midnight Patriot. I know, I'm already hearing the complaints, but we have to put these ads in and everything. And, for me to sit here and talk, this is a standard stuff. I'm not doing anything different than anybody else. So I'm just a conformist. I'm just a conformist. Going back to the military dress code, and, when we get back from the break, we're going to be talking about some of the changes that are going on in Major League Baseball around the parks in the United States, coming to a park near you. And it's just utterly disgusting. It's going to be a point where you can't go to the, because the nanny state. The nanny state. You can't go to the grocery store. You won't be able to go to a mall. You won't be able to step outside your door. Get in your car. You're not going to be able to turn on your car. They already have breathalyzers in your car. I understand the reason for that, but I actually know people who have gotten reckless driving charges. Had nothing to do with drinking and driving. But they had to put the breathalyzer in there. It's a money-making thing. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have to pee on some thing. It's going to tell you because of Obamacare, you got diabetes, or you don't have diabetes, or you didn't eat right. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. It's just the nanny state. The nanny state. So we're going to talk. We're going to talk about that when we get back from the break, top of the hour. But I do want to kind of wrap this up about the soldiers. It's amazing how this administration, this government, whenever there's a funding, you ever notice that whenever there's a funding issue within your local government, or even government, they always talk about the kids. Oh, the kids. Oh, the poor kids. We're going to have to cut after school programs because of the kids. We're going to have to give, if you don't give out this welfare money to mommy and daddy, the kids aren't going to eat. They always do that. And that's exactly what they're doing here. It's only a matter of time before we, burkas, start seeing burkas in the military. We start seeing, they are completely taking something that perfectly worked. The military, and we knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming. When they started talking about the sex scandal, and the military is, riddled with issues. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they have their problems. But for the most part, it works. It's the last government agency, if you think about it, that actually works. Think about it. Postal Service, the dying gasp of the United States Postal Service now. They are out there talking about doing nighttime deliveries. The dying gasp. The VA system. Don't even go there. Rat-infested VA system. Give me one government organization. Give me one. Go out to patriotfb.com, put it in there. I challenge you. Challenge you. Give me one government organization other than the United States military that actually works. It's just utterly incredible. We're going to take a break here at the top of the hour. When we get back, we're going to be talking. Ooh, that was cool. We're going to be talking about other things in the news. Talking about this. That was kind of incredible. Little timing issue there. We'll fix that too. I'm writing my notes. But at the top of the hour, we're gonna break away. We're gonna do our network feed on the news. When we get back, I do want to talk about what's going on in Major League Baseball, what they're going to do now. I don't know what the reasoning behind it. Like I said, you're not going to be able to go anywhere without the nanny state, approving it, or you won't be able to unlock your door. That's what this technology has gotten us. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870.
From Washington, this is VOA News. International Commission to investigate human rights violations in CAR. Egypt not invited to U.S.-Africa summit. I'm Victor Beatty reporting from Washington. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has named a 3-member international commission to investigate reports of human rights violations in Central African Republic and help ensure those responsible are held accountable. Those appointed to the commission include former Mexican Foreign Minister Jorge Castañeda, Mauritanian human rights lawyer Fatimata Mbaye, and Bernard Achomuna, lawyer for Cameroon and deputy chief prosecutor for the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. He will chair the commission. Thousands have been killed since the African nation descended into chaos last year after mostly Muslim Seleka rebels toppled President Francois Bozizé. Meanwhile, in Bangui, French and African peacekeepers engaged in crowd control Wednesday as people protested the presence of Seleka fighters in an army barracks. One of the protesters, Bernard Desiré Mariano, complained members of the Seleka fighters continue attacking neighborhoods at night where they steal. Where can we go, he says, to find peace? The United Nations estimates more than 2,000 have been killed in the sectarian violence, hundreds of thousands displaced, and fighting between mostly Muslim Seleka and Christian anti-Balaka militia. Officials in South Sudan have accused anti-government forces of killing nearly 130 hospital patients in Bor, a strategic town that has changed hands several times since fighting erupted in mid-December. The government Wednesday said the patients were killed in a December attack by forces loyal to former Vice President Riek Machar, but an opposition representative denied the accusations, telling VOA the government was engaged in propaganda. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the army, coupled with UN soldiers, conducted operations against a Ugandan rebel group operating in the east. VOA's Gabe Josler reports the action is aimed at members of the Allied Democratic Forces, known as ADF, which got underway Friday.
The Islamist group began its rebellion in neighboring Uganda in the mid-1990s with the aim of overthrowing the government there. A Ugandan military operation pushed the group into eastern Congo, where it has attacked civilian populations and driven tens of thousands from their homes. The United Nations estimates the group has about 500 members. These latest operations follow the successful campaign by Congolese soldiers and a UN intervention force against the M23 rebel group. The M23 rebellion flared in late 2012 with an attack on Congo's main eastern city of Goma and caused hundreds of thousands of people to flee until the group was stopped late last year. A lack of state authority and mismanagement of local resources in eastern Congo continued to plague the region while providing the conditions for armed groups to wreak havoc. Gabe Joslow, VOA News, Nairobi.
The White House says President Obama will invite leaders of nearly 50 African governments to an August summit in Washington. A U.S. official said all will be included, with the exception of those not in good standing with the United States or under African Union suspension. That, says White House spokesman Jay Carney, includes Egypt.
Egypt has not been invited because it is suspended from the African Union. And that's the reason why Egypt was not invited.
Is there any concern that that is a missed opportunity to have discussions that you'd like to be having with the
Well, I think we have regular discussions with Egyptian leaders and authorities focused on the bilateral relationship, on security matters, but also on developments in Egypt. And our belief that Egypt needs to transition to a civilian-led government in a process that is inclusive, where Egyptians from all walks of life get to express their views and be heard.
The White House says the summit will be used to strengthen U.S. trade and investment ties with the continent of Africa. It says the countries that will receive invitations include the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Kenya, Mali, Nigeria, and South Sudan. In Libya, an abducted South Korean trade official, Han Seok-woo, has been freed by security forces after being kidnapped by 4 unidentified men last weekend. A foreign ministry spokesman said he's in good health. Some of the kidnappers have been arrested. The motive is not known. In South Africa, half the world's platinum production is scheduled to grind to a halt today as the Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union vows to press on with a strike over pay. The top 3 producers, Implats, Anglo American, Platinum, and Lonmin, are targeted for the walkout by some 80,000 workers. I'm Victor Beatty, VOA News. More can be found on the internet at
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That is www.patriotfb.com. And actually, we have a little problem with the website. I just found out, just got word that our CDN provider, Cloudflare, is having some issues. So just bear with them, please. They're getting, there we go. We're back. They got it back. See, there you go. Security. Security. I gotta love Cloudflare. I mean, they're a great CDN. And for those, that's a content delivery network. One of the reasons why our site is so fast, and we were told we can handle up to 10,000 users at the patriotfb.com site simultaneously, is because we use a CDN. We actually use 3. So Cloudflare is our primary. We can flip over to Amazon as our secondary, and then we have Akeem, which is our tertiary. Well, that's a big word. Tertiary. Our third provider. And but we had a little problem there. Maybe there's maybe Guccifer. Maybe Guccifer is out on bail, and he's after us. Maybe we're up there with Simon Cowell and those guys. But the site is back up and running. Just for a few seconds, we had some issues. Somebody left the back door unlocked. There you go. So, JJ, you're funny. Make me laugh, JJ. You're making me laugh. So having a few issues and stuff, they'll get it worked out. That's what we pay these guys for, and everything and stuff. So, hey, talk about JJ. I want to tell you guys this. You got to get out the JJ site. Listen to JJ from 2 to 4 here at patriotfb.com. Great show. I was actually listening to JJ show. I actually had Rush going, and I had JJ going. And I will tell you, I actually turned off Rush. I got tired of, it's like, and I understand his, he has an audience, he has his book, but if I have to read, or if I have to hear about his children's book one more time and everything, it's like, all right, just go buy his book, guys. I just had to turn it off. Just had to turn it off. And, JJ is doing, just phenomenal. He is bringing in guests that are just incredible in the alternative news. It just, I don't know how he's doing it. He's knocking them down. Unlike me, where you guys have to sit and listen to me for 3 hours. JJ, he actually has guests. He has guests. And, to be honest with you, if you're tired of listening to me for 3 hours, give us a call. 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. I'd love to listen to you. This show is all about you. It's all about your message. When we put the show together, we put it together with the notion that we would give you the opportunity to speak. It's one thing you go out to patriotfb.com, post up your memes and all the little things, and we appreciate that. I'm not saying don't do it, but it's the other thing. If you want to have a voice and you want to get your voice out here, this is the format to do it. You can give us a call. Love to hear from you. It's open topic. I mean, I hear a lot on the chat rooms and everything. We pull up a lot. We pull up a lot of information as you guys are chatting during the show, and I appreciate that. I understand some of you guys don't want to get on the air. It's okay. I understand. But if you do want to get on the air, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. I'd love to hear from you. Now, going back right before we took the break, top of the hour, talking about Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball just announced. I'm just saying, don't go. I'm just flat out telling you, don't go. I mean, I'm a huge Milwaukee Brewers fan, and the reason why I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan, I used to watch the Cubs I was in Chicago when I got free tickets. Yeah, I used to, cut out of work and go watch the Cubs. And I stopped watching the Cubs when they had a gentleman, I don't know if you guys, Sammy Sosa. There was nothing like sitting at work with a laptop. Yeah, that's right. I said work with a laptop watching a baseball game live. Used to sit at the ballpark and watch the game and work and actually get paid doing it. It was awesome. It was the best office ever. But I stopped becoming a fan of the Cubs when I found out they paid Sammy Sosa $10 million, his contract, but then they laid off 1,000 people at the Tribune. I mean, the next day, Sammy Sosa got his $10 million, and 1,000 people got their pink slip. So I just was not a baseball fan anymore. And you're talking to a guy, it was funny, when I first moved to Chicago, my next door neighbor was Kerry Wood. The guy next to Kerry was Brent Brown. And, I tell you, I'm not going to go there. Not appropriate. Some things just need to be left alone. Just because you know something doesn't mean you need to talk about it. But nothing wrong. I'm just going to say, so you guys out there, he's got some dirt. No, nothing wrong. Just good old guy stuff in the great city of Chicago. And, so I stopped being a Cubs fan after that. And I was kind of a man without a baseball team. I love baseball. I really do. It's one of those sports, though, you got to go watch live. Like NASCAR. You got to go watch it live. Any auto racing, live is so much better. Even golf is interesting. You ever watch the fishing shows? You sit around and boring as heck. But I love fishing, too. So, there's certain sports that are so much better live. Football, TV. Watch it on TV. And everything. But baseball, it's a park. Because part of it, going out to the baseball game is going to the park. And, I was a big fan. I became a big fan of the Brewers. And the reason why I became a fan of the Brewers is Brewer Stadium in Milwaukee. You literally can get a ticket for $6. And there isn't a bad seat in the house. $6. And for $6, $6.50, you can get a ticket to go watch the Brewers. And they're all great seats. They're all great seats. So I was a big, I was looking forward to getting back into baseball, kind of watching the Brewers. We went 2 years ago, went and watched a couple of Brewers games and, thinking about doing it this year and supporting the team, but I'm not going to do it now. And the reason being is because I sold out. That's right. They drank the Kool-Aid. They are now, in all of your major baseball parks, they are now putting in the magnetrons. So you're going to have to walk through a metal detector. Now, I don't remember of any terrorist attack. I don't remember, even if there was, beat the crap out of them. You light a bomb up at a football stadium, you light a bomb up at a baseball stadium, America will hunt you down, and not only will they light you up, they'll light your family up. There won't be no black widows. You know what a black widow is? These are the widows of these terrorists over in Russia who are now avenging their death of their husbands. No. This country, at that point, we would rip you apart. But, once again, got to put that fear in the American people. Got to be fearful. Can't go outside your house. The government going to take care of you. Just unbelievable. So Major League Baseball now is putting the metal detectors in. That's going to hurt baseball. stand in line, got to take your shoes off. TSA. TSA, they did such a great job at the airports. I kid. I'm not serious. I don't fly anymore. I used to fly quite a bit. I avoid it now. There used to be a time, when I consulted, I would intentionally fly because it was economically, I made money flying. I got paid a little bit extra for flying. Now I ask for a web meeting or go to a meeting and try to stay home. I just refuse to fly. Look for alternative means for my transportation needs and wants. But there you go. TSA coming to the ballpark near you. You're not going to be able to leave your house. Not going to be able to drive your car. Not going to be able to get on your train. I was actually riding the Metro. TSA agents on the train. There you go. Walking up and down. Tell us what you think about it. Give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. When we get back, let's talk about this president. He's been smoking too much. We're going to talk about that when we get back from the break as well.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Warriors should know that resources are available. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
That's right. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That is www.patriotfb.com. Or you can join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you really want to talk to me, you can give me a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. I'd love to hear from you. Give me your thoughts. Your opinions. Your opinions really do matter. They do. I care about you. I care about your opinions. This ain't that type of show, though. We're not going down that road. I'm sure there's some light talk radio out there that you can listen to if that's what you so endeavor. This is in your face political, non-PC talk radio here. So Just mosey on down the road if you're looking for pillow talk. It ain't going to happen. You're not going to hear it here. But going back to, one of the things, and JJ, to answer your question, it is not a theme park. Baseball is baseball. I go, and yes, of course, it is the home of the $10 hot dog. But where else can you have your food thrown at you? That's part of the ambiance. Don't you know that? So, no, I kid. So, no, it's all good fun. But I'm not going. I'm not going to be standing and freaking taking off my shoes and going through it. You know what it's all about, don't you? It has nothing. The reason why Major League Baseball is so much behind this has nothing to, they talk about, it's the security of the fans. One of the issues that Major League Baseball, and I've done it. Sandy's done, you bring food in. It's like the movie theaters. And to a couple of your points, it's listening and chatting and stuff. Yeah, what is next? Your movie theaters, malls. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. You're not. You're not going to be able to leave your home. Everywhere you go. It's just it's crazy. It's insane. We have become a nation of cowards. We really have. We really have. But I'll tell you one thing. This gentleman is definitely not a coward. And what I'm talking about is a gentleman, and this is stuff that you're not going to hear on the news, on mainstream media, because it goes against their agenda, of course. Absolutely goes against their agenda. In America, there's over 1,000 individuals every day who use a firearm to protect themselves, their family. There's 1,000 Americans who go home every day to their family, to their loved ones, or their loved ones come home to them because they had a firearm and they used it to protect themselves against the criminals. Every day. But you'll never hear that. You'll never hear that from Piers Morgan. Oh, and by the way, Piers, it's Connecticut. I just want to put that in there. It's Connecticut. That's how you say it, knucklehead. But, here's a community now who's safer. But you're not going to hear this. Good Samaritan kills gunman in store. Dallas County, Alabama. New details are emerging in the investigation into a shooting of a Dallas County dollar store that ended with a gunman dead at the hands of a customer who decided to take action. There you go. But you're not going to hear that on mainstream media. No. Actually, what you're going to hear is, he should have cowered. He should have hid. It's not his job to protect. It's the police who are 9, 10, 20 minutes away. You guys ever notice police usually show up after the fact? And I'm not, diminishing law enforcement, but really, police never show up ahead of time. They're not there when the robber kicks in your door, assaults your wife, terrorizes your children, or when the gunman pulls their gun in the store. The police are never there. It's after the fact. It's this reality. But you'll never hear about that. But this gentleman, Dallas County District Attorney Michael Jackson, has identified the gunman as Kevin McLaughlin from Oroville and the customer as Mario Ellis, 37, also from Oroville. The fatal shooting happened. No, the fatal shooting. Well, I guess it was fatal. The defensive shooting. How about that? Let's use that words. Once again, mainstream media, they don't even get it right. The defensive shooting. The shooting in defense of others, of helpless patrons. There's a lot of other words we can use here. But, of course, it was fatal. The fatal shooting happened around 12:45 p.m. Thursday at the Dollar General on Highway 22 in Orville. Officials said McLaughlin walked into the store waving his gun in the air and forced a cashier and Ellis at gunpoint towards the break room. At that point, Ellis pulled out his concealed weapon and shot McAuliffe once in the chest. Now that's gun control. That's gun control. I hit when I'm aiming. There you go. But of course you're not going to hear that on the mainstream media. You're only going to hear it here at the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. But just amazing. There was a gentleman, remember the mall shooting? You didn't talk about this, but the mall shooting in Arizona? The guys who, of course the media, his AR, so he took his own life. They failed to tell you that there was also a gentleman with a concealed carry permit who was drawing a line on him. Didn't take the shot at first because he, got good gun control. Couldn't guarantee where his round was going to go. Didn't know if it was going to hit a civilian, so he's moving into position. The guy with the AR saw him. Saw that he, was taking aim. So he shot himself. You didn't hear about that, right? No, of course not. Oh, how about the school shooting? Didn't hear about that? The last school shooting we had? Not the one with the 12-year-old, but at the high school where the kid went in there looking for the teacher to kill him, the debate teacher. The kid was shot by the guard with a gun. Didn't hear about that. No, of course not. No, that little detail. It's amazing. And I'm telling you, they have an agenda. And they have an agenda when they won't even tell you the truth. Like I said, we don't have to dig at the bottom of the news barrel around here. The truth is obvious. The truth. Truth will set you free. It's just amazing. One of the things, too, that they fail to tell you is that most of these mass murderers are socialists in nature. Obviously they have mental illness issues, but they tend to lean towards the socialist democratic ilk. They don't tell you that either. Of course, they want to tie them into the conservative talk radio, Rush Limbaugh listening, Patriot FB listening, Midnight Patriot listening people, but I know the people that listen to this show would never participate in such a horrendous act. And if you do, I'll be the first one to tell you, I want to push the switch or the plunger in your arm. I have no compassion for you. None whatsoever. When we get back from the break, let's talk about the compassion. Let's talk about the execution of the gentleman and now, of course, the family is all up in arms because he suffered. He suffered. And we can't have that. And, we'll talk about what they're not telling you in the news about that one either. We'll break it down for you here at the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. But you're listening to Jeff Norton. I'm your host. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That is www.patriotfb.com. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Would love to hear from you. We do value your opinion. It is important to us. Always.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. Listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host. Bottom of the hour. As we move through tonight's topics, got a lot more for you. Got a lot more topics. We can do this all night long. There's so much to talk about here in this great country of ours. But right now, like I said, I'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Out here on the web at patriotfb.com, seeing some conversation. You know, we're talking about some alphabet agencies. CIA, NSA. Yeah, it's true. There's probably files on us. I think there's files on every American. It used to be where... You know, remember when you got in trouble in school and there's going to be a file on you. It's going to follow you. It's going to go to college. You know, and then you get to college. I hope there's no children listening because, you know, you should be in bed. You really should. I know my daughter, but she already knows, though. We've already talked about this. I'm going to give you a little insight. The nice thing about universities, because they have become profit centers. Don't worry about your file. They'll take you. Now, the thing is now as they say, well, you're not going to get the scholarship, or you're not going to get this, or you're not going to get that. Well, to be honest with you, is you know, I'm not going to discourage anybody from furthering their education. I'm not. But I had I had a mentor, a very good friend. Became a good friend. There was a time in college I was thinking about going on to medicine. Becoming a doctor. Can you imagine me being a doctor? No. I couldn't be serious. I'd be laughing. But if you ever hear what goes on in an operating room, it's amazing with the conversations that happen. But going back to, I was thinking about it, and real good friend. He was a doctor, very well-known oncologist, worked at Vanderbilt University, also was a oncologist with the National Institute of Health. He's a bioethicist, wrote books on it, bioethics, talked about the corruption of academic medicine. That's where a lot of my beliefs about the global warming and the grants and all that came from. My inside knowledge of seeing academic. My mother was an oncology nurse who worked for this gentleman. I actually put myself through some school, Some. I say some. Being a phlebotomist, working with him and then also working with AIDS patients, and then actually working at the hospital. I would work 40 hours in 3 days over the weekends to support my family at the time. But so I was thinking about going on and pursuing a career in medicine, and one of the things that I've always had a knack at, and that was software. I was the guy who, doctors are kids, especially emergency room doctors. Hung out a lot with emergency room doctors. I'd put Doom, it's a classic video game, on their computers. I'd always circumvent the IT department's security and, all sorts of different things. It's amazing, though, when you have the doctors, you had the chief of staff, and he was your friend and invite you out on fishing trips with him when they go out and everything, how much you can get away with. But, opened up my eyes to a lot of things. That was a great year, a very good year. But one of the things, like I said, I learned very quickly was that you go to college, basically, if you think about it, you go to college to get a career, right? I mean, think about it. We go to college, we study whatever it is we're going to study to get a career. If you already have a career and you want knowledge, this is what this doctor told me. If you already have a career and you want knowledge, go to the library. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. That's exactly what I did. I always had a knack for computers. I was kind of like on sabbatical. I started out in the computer industry when I was 15 years old. My first job was actually programming a database for a art dealer, and then hung out, did change tapes with Big Blue, IBM supercomputer mainframe for a company. And, I was always a computer geek. So then I progressed into thinking medicine. Because computers at the time they were kind of an anomaly. They weren't as prolific. You got to remember, PCs at the time, these PCs were about $10,000. That's right, about 10 grand. So most people, and that was back, in the late 80s, early 90s. 10 grand for a PC. So you had to be uber wealthy to have these things. And, it was just one of those things. And so when I took a little sabbatical, tried my hand at different industries, and I realized really quick that I had to go back to what I was good at, and that was always software. But, we talk about, the NSA and, you got a file. We all have files on us now. We all have files on us. I mean, every one of us that's on the site, everyone that, and that's how they justify their existence. Oh, we got a file on Jeff Norton. Or, hey, we got a file on JJ. So what? Just give me a call. I'll tell you everything. It's no big deal. But we got a file. Because we got a file, we need $1 million. It's just insane. Just completely insane. The waste, the wanton abuse of power. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But it's all about the money. It's all about the money. They will invent, they will create the boogeyman. They will even put him under your bed so they can get more money. More money we don't have. More money that we don't have. I mean, the real terror, if you think about it, is this government. Think about it. I am more likely to die at the hands of this government than I am by a terrorist. Think about that statement. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and visit stjude.org today.
Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com. In through the mouth, out through the nose. But what a night. What an evening. We're here. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. I see a lot of good conversations going on at patriotfb.com in the chat room. You know, yeah, college is different these days. It really is. You know, my youngest daughter, we were talking about this. She's in junior high. Well, not even junior high. She hasn't made junior. Yeah, 6th. I don't know what 6th, 7th grade. It all runs together. But, you know, she's figured it out at her age. She's like, Dad, all I have to do is go to school, show up, do what the teacher does, and not cause any problems, and I'll do okay. And that's, you know, and unfortunately, I'm seeing that in academia. Really. I mean, even in the collegiate level. Go to school, show up. I mean, I have taken some courses. And I'm not any smarter than I was when I was a guy. Now, I will tell you, I didn't aid the dumbing down of Jeff Norton by you know, drinking and partying and doing all the things that I did when I was younger. But for the most part, you know, I sat in these classrooms, and of course, you know, I had some classes that I had to take, and you know, continuing education they call it. But I had to take these classes, and I, you know, they'd pair you up. Now, you know, I have technical certificates out the yang. When I say out the yang, I spend a good 3-4 months on various certifications in the industry because I keep those up, and they change every 3 years. You have to 2 to 3 years. And it's to the point now where I don't even take the classes; I just take the tests. And you know, it's amazing. I have certain companies who actually have paid me as a consultant in the past to install their own product in their own environment. Kind of crazy if you think about it. it's their product, and they pay me as a consultant to oversee that. I mean, I've done some pretty phenomenal things, but I do keep my certifications up, because I never know, I might have to go back to that, help pay the bills here at patriotfb.com. So, talk about college, though. You sit in these classes, and it's now to the point where you just go and sit and you keep your mouth shut and do what the teacher tells you, the professor tells you to do, and it's amazing. I was astounded. I mean, I was all excited to go back to school, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna learn. It was amazing. You sit there and you go, what, really? We're really gonna do this? And then they pair you up. The trick for me in college was me not to kill my lab partners. That was the trick. I think that's the thing that I learned in this go around in college, going back, was working with others. I always had an issue with working with others. I get frustrated very easily, or used to. I still do to a point, but college, I had to sit there, because here I am. I'm 20 years older than the average student, and they're not thinking about the project. They're thinking about Friday night and the girls or the guys or whatever. And I'm just thinking about I paid a buttload of money, and I want it to be worth it, because I have in my agreements, if I have to go back to school for certain classes, someone other than myself is paying for that. And if they're paying for it, they expect you to get a certain grade. Yeah, I mean, it's a great scam. I told people, you want me to take a management class? Well, you're going to pay for it, and but my commitment is I'll get an A, but you're going to pay for it. You want me to take a project management class? Okay, fine, pay for it. Sign the check. I'll show up. And stuff. So it's just, I know I'm fortunate, very fortunate in that regard. But it's just amazing. Now, talking about college, our president, you hear Occidental College. I heard JJ today. We were talking, he's talking about that. This president supposedly we were told that this president is the most brilliant president ever in the history of whatever. Now, I know, President Bush was not a great orator. He was not a great speaker. But I'll tell you one thing. If I had to choose who I wanted on my team, on my Jeopardy team, I would take President Bush at this point. Because the more you investigate this current president, you find out that his grades at Occidental College weren't that spectacular. You find out that he was the editor of the Harvard Review, but never wrote an article. He went to college not based upon his abilities, but completely on affirmative action. I am a firm believer of that. Because, I did a couple writing classes at the Harvard Extended Schools, learning how to write technical papers. Like I said, if you want to pay for my school, I'll go. And I had a customer or client who I needed to write manuals, technical manuals for. And I'm like, I'm not a writer. It's not what I do. But hey, Harvard Extended School had a program for technical writing. So send me. Pay for it. Write the check. I'll show up. Get the A. And I did it. And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. But it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. But, we're constantly, this president's constantly crammed down our throats as being the smart one in the bunch. Well, this goes to show you how really dumb this president is. This whole thing about, pot. to be honest with you, I don't care if you smoke pot. I can care less. If you want to dumb your gene pool down, knock yourself out. Seriously. If you want to be an idiot, knock yourself out. I care less. The problem is that these idiots are more malleable, so they're more pliable. The government's not stupid. They've been trying to put drugs in our water from day one. Now we're going to Facebook ourselves to oblivion. We're going to smoke pot, kind of, they don't have to spy on us because we're going to give the information. That's what that reference was directed towards. Same thing with pot. They don't have to put drugs in our water anymore because we'll just smoke pot. But the problem is us patriots won't do that. That's not who we are. That's not what we're about. But of course, this president came out and said, "Oh yeah, there's studies that say that pot is no dangerous than alcohol." Well, guess what, Mr. President, you're wrong. Wrong answer. Marijuana use is more dangerous than alcohol. Even your own scientific advisors have said that. They have proven it. Alcohol is bad as well. I'm not if you want to drink, like I said, you're an adult. I'll drink a beer every once in a while. I grew up out of that. Grew out of that stage of my life where I had to get inebriated every Friday night to make myself feel better. But I will tell you, marijuana is far more dangerous than alcohol these days. And I don't care what the arguments are. I mean, it is a drug, and we, should treat it as such.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
You are listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton, as we cruise on into the third hour. And, right before that, we were talking about the president and his disconnect. This president's disconnected from a lot of things. Hey, maybe there's a correlation between that and his pot smoking. I don't know. I'm just saying. I didn't think about it. All right. So pot smoking is not dangerous. All right. So, Mr. Officer, go smoke your pot and go to work. Crane operator. Hey, Mr. Pilot. There you go. Mr. Pilot. Go smoke your doobie. Go hit that bong and then go into work. It's a drug. It's designed to dull your senses. It's designed like alcohol to mask your feelings. You know, I learned this when I was younger, when I was naive. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I was a drinker. I experimented with a lot of things. I'm not a purist. I'm not a Puritan. Thank God I was smart enough to realize that this could be a problem as I get older. Thank God I was smart enough to have friends and I didn't have a government. I didn't have a government to take care of me. I had friends and family that said, "Hey, Jeff, you know, it's starting to affect your life. Maybe you need to back it down." I'll be the first one to tell you, I've been down that road. I traveled down that road. And I'm not going to discourage anybody else from seeking help when they need it. But I will tell you this, that it is by the grace of God, go I. I have friends, you have friends, I'm sure, who are no longer with us because of choices and decisions that they made. And, you know, I don't know how you can sit there and see the devastation that drugs and alcohol have on families, but it's right in par with the attack against families that this government has demonstrated. You know, when you have families who will go out and buy their ounce or whatever of weed or their alcohol, but can't feed their kids, or they can, but they choose not to. When you have family, you know, when you have these individuals who feel that the need to medicate themselves, make themselves better. Think about it. You're taking marijuana and alcohol, or you're taking drugs, and we'll just say drugs, and alcohol's in there with them. Think about it. So you can feel good. How screwed up is that? God has given you so many things that will make you feel good that you don't need those drugs. I mean, that removes you. See, feelings, it's synthetic. A very smart man. I don't know who told me, said feelings are feelings. You're supposed to feel them. You're not supposed to numb them. You're not supposed to ignore them. You are supposed to feel them. That's why they call them feelings. And this administration, whatever. Let your pot-smoking hippies, Colorado, have fun. More power to you if you want to kill yourself. But the problem is this. This is the problem that I have with these laws, and I know we have guys that think that we should have marijuana, medical marijuana. It's a drug, and like all drugs, they have purpose. They have purpose. But what I'm saying is the casual use of it. And alcohol is another thing. But hey, if you want to do it, I drink it, but I'm not delusional about it. I drink it because whatever reason I want to, feel good. It is a drug. It is a drug. But this president, this administration, obviously feels differently. We get back here from our break. We'll roll in the third hour and do honor the fallen.
You're listening to PatriotFB.com.
From Washington, this is VOA News. Rebel forces in South Sudan accused of atrocity in Bor. The UN names a human rights panel for CAR. I'm Victor Beatty reporting from Washington. In South Sudan, the government has accused rebel forces loyal to former Vice President Riek Machar of killing nearly 130 hospital patients in Bor, a strategic town that has changed hands several times since fighting erupted in mid-December. Juba said the patients were killed during a December attack by forces loyal to Mr. Machar. An opposition representative, however, denied the accusations, saying the government has been issuing propaganda and making insightful statements that are divisive. In Washington Wednesday, U.S. spokesperson Marie Harf said regional heads of state from IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, will meet during an African Union summit in Ethiopia next week to try to pressure both sides to end the conflict.
We continue to call on the rebel leader Machar and President Kiir to sign immediately the cessation of hostilities agreement, which has been tabled by IGAD, because fighting on the ground needs to stop. We need the talks to progress. We need both sides to refrain from offensive military operations.
Both sides have been meeting in Addis Ababa for weeks, but have so far failed to reach a ceasefire agreement. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has named a 3-member international commission to investigate all reports of human rights violations in Central African Republic. The panel includes former Mexican Foreign Minister Jorge Castañeda, Mauritanian human rights lawyer Fatimata Mbaye, and Bernard Achomuna, a lawyer from Cameroon and Deputy Chief Prosecutor for the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, who will chair that 3-member panel. The UN estimates thousands have been killed in CAR since the African nation descended into chaos last year after mostly Muslim Seleka rebels toppled President Francois Bozizé. Attacks and looting by the rebels sparked the rise of Christian defense groups and a cycle of killings. The UN humanitarian agency says nearly 900 have been killed in Bangui alone since early December. In Egypt Wednesday, hundreds of protesters opposed to the interim government took to the streets in Cairo. The protest came days before the 3rd anniversary of the uprising that toppled longtime Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. The protesters lit flares and chanted slogans opposing both the Muslim Brotherhood and Army Chief General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who removed Islamist President Mohamed Morsi last year. Meanwhile, the human rights group Amnesty International says 3 years after the revolt against Mr. Mubarak, the Egyptian government is, according to the group, still quashing dissent and trampling human rights. In Nigeria, police had to use tear gas outside a courtroom in Bauchi to disperse an angry crowd throwing rocks at prisoners accused of being homosexual. Heather Murdoch reports the 9 men include a college professor.
Outside the courthouse, the crowd shouted, "God will punish you," as the defendant's vehicle approached. After rocks were thrown at the vehicle, the police dispersed the crowd with tear gas. The only damage was to a nearby car. Homosexuality is illegal in Nigeria, and a new law bans gay organizations and says gay marriages are punishable by up to 14 years in prison. In Islamic courts, homosexuality is punishable by death. However, a person convicted under Islamic law in Nigeria has the right to appeal in a secular court. Court officials told a VOA reporter the judge did not decide any of Wednesday's cases because the defendants could be in danger if they were set free for lack of evidence. The final decision, the official said, will be made privately inside the jailhouse. Heather Murdoch for VOA News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, a Ugandan court Wednesday ordered the deportation of a British man facing criminal charges related to alleged homosexual activity. Bernard Randall, charged last year with trafficking in obscene material after his laptop computer was stolen and photos of alleged homosexual acts published in a Ugandan newspaper. Russia has paid about $1 million to Senegal in exchange for release of a trawler seized for allegedly fishing illegally off the Senegalese coast. Dakar impounded the vessel January 4th, accusing the crew of fishing without a permit. Illegal fishing, mostly by trawlers from the former Soviet bloc, are believed to cost Senegal $250 million a year. A fuel tanker suspected of having been hijacked off the Angolan coast is the Liberian-flagged MT Corella, which lost contact with its Greek-based owner January 18th. The ship was last seen about 7 nautical miles from Luanda. I'm Victor Beattie, VOA.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. We'll have to put a stop to that. Still, as we cruise into the third hour tonight. You know, I want to clarify something here. I'm giving you my professional faith. My belief system. Look, I am a libertarian. What you want to do with your body, what you want to do is your business. I'm not saying that we should regulate. I'm not saying, if you want to, I kind of got some flack, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I'm not Rush Limbaugh. I'm not on the EIB network. The all great one. I am not. That is not who I am. It's all about the conversation that we have here, that we have with each other, the communication process. And I got slammed, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. And I think that, and I want to clarify this. What you do with your body, what you do with your mind, what you do with whatever, that is your business. I am not one to say I have the answers. That is not who I am. That's not what I'm about. So I wanted to clarify that because I did get, rightfully so. I will tell you, rightfully so. My conversation that I was having is in my life that is not something for me. If you so choose to partake and do that, then you're absolutely. But the thing is this, though. If you are impaired when you put others at risk, then suffer the consequences. It's no different than drunk driving. I mean, I'm a pilot. I have a pilot's license, or had a pilot's license. You don't ever lose your pilot's license. You lose your medical, by the way. You have to have a medical. And depending upon your type of license depends how often you have to have that medical. You do lose your medical. You don't ever lose your pilot's license. You cannot have alcohol in your system. 24 hours from the time that you quit drinking to the time you get in an airplane. That's the law. 24 hours. And I'm not talking about legal limit. If I drink a beer now, or if I take a drug that is known to impair my judgment, be it NyQuil or whatever, I have to wait 24 hours from the time I ingest that to the time I can actually fly an airplane. Those are the rules. That's the law. And so my thing is that those laws, unlike alcohol, they were developed, they were put together with science. Those laws have not been established for the use of marijuana yet. So I am skeptical. And if you want to get in a plane and you want to fly over the ocean, smoke your doobie, and there's no risk of you crashing your plane into someone's house or someone's neighborhood, then more about it, knock yourself out, John Denver. That's wrong. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. But he crashed his airplane. I don't know if that was an unfair statement. But the thing is that if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But the problem is that when the issue that I do have, though, is that when you possibly could jeopardize someone else, there is no clear, and I haven't seen it, maybe those out there can show me the evidence. I know a lot of people, and I agree with this assertion, that when I was younger and I did smoke, I've rolled a few. I didn't drive. You're right. I didn't get in a car and drive. And what you do at your home and everything, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is that when you take that out. Now, the other part of this is, and I know, I believe that people have a certain predisposition to certain things. So I believe a conservative is always going to be a conservative, a liberal will always be a liberal, whatever. I believe. I don't think by smoking pot or taking, we're not talking about synthetic drugs here. We're talking about natural, God-given drug, pot. Alcohol has been around for ages. I don't think that's going to change your will. But however, I do believe that it does make you more malleable. I do. And it could be anything. You take enough aspirin and it does affect you. It affects your body. You drink enough water. You do a lot of water. And I don't want to draw the correlation, but I'm a science. I'm a black and white kind of guy. So, I don't know what it is. But like I said, I just want to clarify. If you have every right to do whatever you want to do, in that regard. It's man-made. It's God-made. You want to smoke it, it's no different than tobacco. In my mind, it's no different than chewing tobacco. It's no different than alcohol. No different than liquor. That's what you want to do. You have every right to do it. But I'm just saying that when you want to be out on the road or flying your airplane or operating a train or doing surgery or whatever, I have a concern, and I think that's valid. And I think most of you would agree with that. Now, I will tell you this, though. Be careful, especially you in California or in Colorado. They are building a database, and one of the things in the database is they ask you on a 4473. I need to pull it up. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to read it to you for those that don't know, for all of you Second Amendment guys out there, who want to own a firearm, right? There is a question, and they are putting you in a database. But one of the questions, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any other depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? If you are, that will automatically keep you from owning a firearm. So my problem is this. My concern for you as a fellow patriot. Who decides your level of addiction? Seriously, who does? At what point do they say you're addicted? Who makes that determination? And that's scary. That's concerning. But like I said, abuse is abuse. I totally agree with you, Chip. There are people perfectly functioning that can have a beer or here, that can smoke a joint or do, smoke. I get it. I get that. The gray area for me is I just don't know the long term. I don't know the science. What I did for alcohol is I being a pilot or having a pilot's license, I use that same approach. That they feel that you're under the impairment for 24 hours from drinking a beer. And this is science. This was not the FAA, or the EPA, some government agency. This was actually science that made that determination. It's been around for a while. So I use that as my rule stick. Because I want to be safe. If I have my kids in the car and stuff, I want to be safe. So I'm just saying, to each their own, though. It's a free country. Do what you want to do. I am a firm believer in that. But I just wanted to clarify. And we're not talking, I'm not talking about those as abuse, because you can abuse food, you can abuse a lot of things. I'm talking about the recreational use. I'm all for. Knock yourself out. Have a good time. And I do not believe that marijuana is a gateway drug anymore. I believe alcohol is more of a gateway drug. I've done some pretty stupid things under the influence of alcohol, and not, like I said, my college days of smoking rolling the green smoke typically revolved around eating pizza and watching Pink Floyd The Wall or some other crazy movie, or The Wizard of Oz with the Pink Floyd soundtrack. But I will tell you this, my days considered a drinking usually involved fighting, vandalism, all sorts of different illicit behaviors or activities. I'm not proud of it, but that's the reality of it. So I do get the argument. I do get the argument. All right. We're going to roll on in here. We're in our third hour here at the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com. If you'd like to join in the conversation, of course, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. When we get back, we're going to do, our honor to the troops, for the fallen. For those that don't know, we'll talk about that when we get back from the break. We've got some more news that we want to go over. I want to go over, talk about another, Oregon bakery violated gay couples' rights. We're going to talk about that. We already got pillaging going on in New Jersey. We'll talk about that. We got some more news that we're going to cover when we get back from the break.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Resources are available for military families. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That's www.patriotfb.com. Now, one of the things that was brought to mind, we were talking about the 1920s, Prohibition. I'm going to carry this conversation a little bit more, because it is all about sharing knowledge, and I am a study of history. This is one thing that I have studied. They equate pot and the prohibition of alcohol. Now, let me clarify something for you. Yes, there was a temperance movement, no doubt about it, in the 1920s when they did the prohibition of alcohol. There was a temperance movement. There were individuals that were against it. But it was actually a very small group. let me kind of give you, there's an excellent book, and everybody needs to read this, because this tells you how the wealthy and the elite can manipulate markets. This is a classic example of this, and it's a book called Alcohol is a Gas. Now, when automobiles first came out, they were originally designed to run on alcohol. They were. The diesel engine was originally designed to run on soybean oil that can be produced by the farmer. It wasn't until a gentleman by the name of Getty Oil, realized that you had all these oil fields, and they weren't worth a flip. You know, at the time, people used to light their homes and stuff with whale oil. That was the preferred way. And so Getty Oil, when they found oil and they extracted it from the ground, they got in the heating lamp business. And when they would frack the oil, they found this product called gasoline. By fracking the oil, by distilling it out and everything, they had gasoline, and they literally, Getty Oil, it was useless. They couldn't burn it because of the fumes and all that stuff. But then, and he had all these cars that ran on alcohol. If you do the history, Getty realized that if he could have alcohol outlawed, or the production, because alcohol you can grow you can make in your house right now. You can do it now. I mean, I have a car who's an E85, and I purchased it for that reason, because I know how to make my own ethanol. And if, as part of my bug out plan, if the sheet hit the fan, I know within a month I can produce enough ethanol to run my car, right? Now I have enough storage to get me to where I got to go, but to continue on, I can produce my own ethanol. It's not that hard to do. It's not hard at all. So one of the things that Getty did, and this is a great study of how industry can manipulate policy. And I bring this up because, a lot of people, they talk about, the prohibition and the temperance and how that, all right. But I want, regardless, I'm not going to go down that path, but I want to educate you on the fact that the prohibition had nothing to do with alcohol in the sense of consumption. Now, they'll tell you that. And that tells you how manipulative, even in the 20s, that are, that the industrial complex was. But Getty basically gave equivalent to, I think it was like $10 million back then to the temperance movement. He is the one who gave the temperance movement the money in order for them to form their organizations, in order for them to get their banners, in order for them to buy the newspapers, in order for them to rally the troops against, and then, of course, then also to buy the politicians. But it had nothing to do about the ilk of alcohol and the consumption. It had nothing to do with that. Getty's sole purpose in this was to ban alcohol so that you and I can't produce it, so that we can run our cars. And then he, of course, he has gasoline, a byproduct of the oil, of making the oil lamps, fuels for oil lanterns. It's amazing how they come to you and say, oh, it's this, but you got to dig into it a little bit more deeper. And I just wanted to share that nugget of information, because I have done research on this. And like I said, there's an excellent book called Alcohol is a Gas. And he actually goes into how to make your own steel, how many acres you need to produce X amount of gas, how you and I can join together as a community. And there are communities. I've gone up to northern Wisconsin, and there are farmers, and they're co-ops. and you can fill up your ethanol for like $1.93 a gallon if you belong to these co-ops. So, I mean, it does work. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But if you'd like to join in the conversation, feel free to give me a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. You know, let's talk about constitutionality here for a little bit, since we brought it up. There's no constitutional law that prohibits you from doing whatever, smoking, drinking. There isn't. And I follow the Constitution. One of the things, though, is that, we talk about this bakery. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a bakery in Oregon. This is how crazy we've become in this country. This is how litigious we have become. There is a bakery owned by a couple, family, who, for whatever reason, and it's their opinion, it's their reason, it's their right, they don't support gay marriage. How's that any different than someone that does support gay marriage? Does that mean because you support gay marriage that you can force me to believe in gay marriage or whatever? Well, apparently in the state of Oregon, they believe that. They really do. Because now this bakery, there was a gay couple came in, they wanted a wedding cake. And this bakery said, no, we're not going to make it for you. Now, is this bakery getting money from the government? Do they fall under those rules or whatever? No. But the government came in, and now the judge of the legal system is now forcing this bakery to make this gay couple a cake. Now, that's insane. But I got to ask you, what? I don't know what's more crazy: the fact that if I went into a store and they did not want my business for whatever reason, didn't want my business, I'm not going to sue them. I'm going to leave. They're not going to get my business. I do it all the time. I make a choice all the time. So you're telling me I live in a concealed carry state. Most of you live in a concealed carry state. There are stores who say that, well, you can't take a gun in the store. They have the signs up. But isn't the right to bear arms a constitutional right? To be gay or not to be gay, if they can force a store to provide a service or a product and they're using the arguments that it's a constitutional right to be gay, that's the argument they're using, then isn't it my Second Amendment right that I can carry a gun into a store, even though the store says not allowed? See the agenda here? The agenda bias? See it firsthand. So now that Oregon has set this precedent saying that I can't, and of course our federal government is behind this and saying, yeah, you can't discriminate against gays. Well, then all right, then you can't discriminate. I'm going to use that argument, that precedent, to carry my concealed firearm into a store. And when they make a hoopla about it, I'm going to say, well, look, I have a constitutional right to carry. It's good for the goose is good for the gander, my friends. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. When we get back from the break, we will do our Honor of the Fallen. Kind of wrap the evening up in a nice bow. Send you guys off to wherever you got to go. Some of us got to go to bed. Some of us have to go to work. But I hope we had a meaningful conversation tonight. I hope I've stirred some emotions in you so that you can have some conversations tomorrow at the water cooler. If you'd like to join in the conversation, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I'm Eric Kipple, 10-year veteran of the NFL. And I'm Captain Mark McNeil, 16-year veteran of the Army National Guard. Whether on the playing field or the battlefield, you must be both physically and mentally fit. If you're injured, you owe it to yourself and your teammates to get back to peak performance. It doesn't matter if you've got a broken bone, depression, a traumatic brain injury, PTSD, or another psychological wound. Getting help shows strength, not weakness. To find out more, go to realwarriors.net or call 866-966-1020.
For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can find me here every Monday through Friday, sitting right here in the seat from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That's where you find me during the day. I'm usually out there. You need to, if you want to talk to me or you want to have a conversation with me, go out to patriotfb.com, log in. Make sure you friend me. That way you show up in my chat window. I will friend you back. And we'll communicate. We will have a conversation and everything. I thoroughly enjoy the conversations that we're having right now at patriotfb.com in the chat window. Feel free to post your opinions. We'll try to address them. We'll try to have a conversation. It is all about the conversation. For those that are new to the show, and I know that we've got a lot of new listeners out there, I just want to let you know that this show's all about conversation. I am not, part of the EIB network. It's all about communicating and having open dialogue, open conversation. So if you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. But until then, what we want to do is, for those who are new, we do a segment to honor the fallen. And we do this every night, as long as there are men and women who have put themselves in harm's way serving this country, this great nation of ours. That's what happens when a compressor cuts out. So we will, we will honor them. And this is new, or this is not new, but for our new listeners. So what we do now is honor our fallen. Now, one of the things, get out the Prepper or freedomprepper.com. That's freedomprepper.com. And talking about that, tomorrow's show, we're going to have Prepper Recon. Feel free to join us for our show with Prepper Recon. Actually, Prepper is going to be out. We're going to actually have another guest. It's going to be filling in for him tomorrow. And, we'll talk about that at the top of the hour tomorrow. But getting all that firmed up and everything. Look forward to it. But then Prepper will join us the following week, of course, on Thursday. But right now, we have a little business to take care of with Honor Our Fallen. Now, one of the other things is you go out to freedomprepper.com. There's shirts out there. They have 22 on them. What that means and I've had a lot of people ask me already, what that is. It is a national disgrace, actually. And it's a way for us to remember a national travesty. And the travesty is this. There are 22 soldiers who kill themselves every day in this country, commit suicide. because of whatever reason. And our awareness is that, 22 in a day, 22 in a week, 22 in a month, 22 in a year is too many. 22 soldiers. Now, another appalling number is 354. That's 354 days that it takes a veteran to receive the benefits, on average, to receive the benefits that they've earned or that they've deserved. That is completely unacceptable in my book. Unacceptable. And so if you take up any fight in this Patriot movement, take that one up. Help our vets. Help those who have secured our freedom, who have answered the call and will continue to answer the call. That's what we ask for. And also with that, we want to pay our respect to the men and women who have paid the ultimate price. Army Chief Warrant Officer 2nd Edward Bawley, January 20th, 2014. Army Specialist Andrew H. Sipple, January 17th, 2014. Army Chief Warrant Officer Andrew L. McAdams, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant Drew M. Scobie, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant First Class William K. Lacey, January 4th, 2014. Army Sergeant Jacob M. Hess, January 1st, 2014.
Just for 1 second, put yourself in there. Turn your back on everything you know right now. With the whole world to lose, you got no dinner with the family. You got no home, no luxury car. Just a welcome to the battlefield, 'cause it's time to go to war. Do it for me and
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Warriors should know that resources are available. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host as we roll into the final minutes of the show. I just want to say thank you. I don't have an opportunity here at the end, but what a show! I love doing the Wednesday night shows and also the Fridays. You know, I love our guests. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love having the guests on the show and stuff. But for me to just sit here and be able to just talk with you, to be able to just communicate, have this conversation. It's all about the conversation here at the Midnight Patriot. You know, I love our guests. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, enjoy the company. We had Stone Anthony on yesterday. We had Tim on Mondays for our Munition Monday. Great, a lot of information. A lot of just inside information. Things that you're, you know, things that you just don't learn about when it comes to guns, firearms, weapons. You know, hopefully we ask the questions and get the information that most people are afraid to ask, like barrel twist. Why is it important? You know, lead bullets. What's the right combination? You know, we have great conversations. And, of course, with Stone Anthony, 2016 presidential candidate. He joins us every Tuesday night. Gets me going. But hey, it's all about like I said, when we started the show, it was all based upon, you know, the conversation. If I could, I would go to a local restaurant in the morning or maybe in the evening. I would put microphones out on the table. I'd invite people around the table and we would just have a conversation. And we're going to actually do that this summer. We are going to go on the road with Stone and we are going to travel with them, and we're going to have conversations with everyday Americans. We're going to ask them the questions. We value your opinion. See, the problem is that a lot of the shows that do what we're talking about doing, they do it, you know, they edit it. They want ratings. They want the wow factor. We want the raw conversation. You know, there is no dump button. I'm pushing it. I disconnected it. If you go to the picture, if you go to Jeffrey W. Norton on PatriotFB.com, you'll see a picture that I posted of the new studio here that we do the show from. And you'll see down in the lower right, the big yellow button. That's the dump button. It even says dump on it. We disconnected it. We want to have an open conversation. You know, we ask that if you call in, you know, it's all about communication. You're always calling, screaming, yelling, and name calling and stuff. You know, I ain't gonna talk to you that long. I don't talk to you that way. You don't talk to me that way. It's just not a way of having a conversation. But yeah, we do get in heated conversations. Stone and I have gone back and forth a couple times. We did a show one time where it was a great show at the beginning, and then it kind of went south pretty quick. Not with Stone, but with another guest, because I completely disagreed. She wanted to inform me that we've won. We could all go home because we've won. And, I'm a firm believer we still got a long fight ahead of us, my friends. A very long fight ahead of us. But as we roll into the evening, I want to bring up another disturbing fact. Our government, there's a certain amount, they figured it out strategically, that there's a certain amount of American citizenry that they're just not going to indoctrinate. Most of them, you'll find out here at patriotfb.com. Ain't going to happen. They can lie to us all they want to. They can poison us. They can do whatever they want to do. They can, turn on that mind machine, pump their propaganda into it. And, we're still not going to do it. But now what they've done is they've figured it out. They're going after our kids, our children, and this is disturbing. The NSA, and we had and I got to bring him on, Dennis Vesky, wrote a great book, Tales from Russia. He grew up in communist Russia. He grew up in the indoctrination centers, called it their educational system. And he wrote an excellent book on what he saw growing up and what he saw in communist Russia before he came here to the States and immigrated with his family and then became American. And he sees that going on now. Man, we got to get him back on the show. Have him talk about that, because we're seeing it in our school systems. And the NSA has clearly said, they are now going after our kids. They're talking about. I'll just read this article. This actually came from Golf Dogs. Spying on America and the National Security Agency and the Internal Revenue Service attacks on conservative groups are like a walk in the park compared to the government's plan to track school children, says a prominent national educational researcher, analyst, and Johns Hopkins-trained pediatrician. Educated. Dr. Karen Ephraim, president of the national watchdog group Education Liberty Watch, is sounding an alarm on Common Core, the federal educational standards that almost all states are adopting by accepting federal race to the top funding, race to the top, as we all fall to the bottom. Under Common Core, Ephraim said students' personal information increasingly is being collected, measured, and assessed while the standard shifts and focuses away from academics and towards psychological training and testing of personal attitudes and behaviors. Yes, I see it first time. You don't have to have a child in the school system. You can just walk around and see the mind-numbed children. They walk around with their ID cards. You ever see that? See the kids? They have their ID cards. Everywhere they go, they got to show their ID cards. Get in the mall, they got to have their ID cards. Everywhere they go. That's all part of Common Core. That's all part of the indoctrination process. They're indoctrinating our kids, and it's only a matter of time before they get to them and they say, look, if your mom and dad doesn't do this or doesn't do that. They already do it now. Don't give your kid a cell phone, and you'd be considered an abuser by most. How dare you? You don't get your kid doesn't have a cell phone. What's wrong with you? Your kid doesn't have an iPod. What's wrong with you? Your kid doesn't have a laptop. What's wrong with you? Oh, don't worry. We'll give them a laptop so we can, with a camera on it, so that our pervert administrators can turn it on and watch your kids. Man, happens all the time. They're indoctrinating our children. Your mom and dad don't give you this or don't give you that. You don't have the right shoes. They're indoctrinating. It's only a matter of time before they start having the police show up at your door. I mean, under Obamacare, we've talked about this. Under the Obamacare law, they can actually come into your home. They feel that your child is underperforming, and who determines that, right? Some teacher. Some libtard teacher. Because your son or daughter talked about, saying the Pledge of Allegiance or wanted to read a Bible story in school, so some libtard teacher turns you in to the Fed. And now you have the Fed under Obamacare. They can now enter your home and investigate your home if you participate, or even if you don't participate. It's only a matter of time before they say, well, everybody's got to participate, because Obamacare is going to fail miserably if you don't participate, if people don't participate. They know that. They knew that when going into it. So it's only a matter of time where they do mandatory participation in Obamacare. And if you don't do it, then if you don't get your kids the insurance, you, my friends, are an abuser of children. Because how dare you not have insurance on your kids? Well, you know what, Mr. President? I had insurance on my children. I had 90% with a $2,500 deductible with full life insurance, life death benefits for myself. And on top of that, dental and eye, $400 a month. Half the coverage now, I now have to pay well over $1,200 a month, $1,300 a month. I don't have death benefits anymore. I don't have vision and eye. And by the way, my deductible is now $7,000. Thank you, Mr. President. Who's abusing my kids? This tyrannical government. That's who. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and visit stjude.org today.
Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com. Love to have you. Love to meet you. Everybody's a friend out there. I friend everybody. If you haven't done so, friend me back. That way we can communicate during the day. Help me. You know, I'll tell you, a lot of the topics that we talk about are actually derived during the day. Now, I'm trying to figure out how I can do this. We do have a document section that we can turn live on the site, but I wanted to be a little leery about that, but I'm trying to figure out how we can get our show prep up so you guys can actually interact with that, kind of drive the topics of the day with us, things that you want to hear, things that you want to talk about throughout the day. So we'll get that up there and everything. But as we wind down, I just want to say thank you. I mean, tonight was a great night. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations that we've had, and we've had a lot there on the chat room. And yep, I do have to admit, everything is about a 30-second delay. So there is no live. It is a 30-second, and that's not because of us. That is just because of the nature of the streaming media and everything. We have actually taken the delay off. So, sometimes I'm already in another conversation as you guys are chatting with me in that. But we try to circle back around if we need to, and everything. And if there's anything I'm missing, please let me know. I mean, it is about the conversation. Like I said, I am here to serve you, to give you a voice, to get your questions answered and to get your comments out there so we can engage in thought-provoking conversation and everything. But it's been a great night. I appreciate everybody's contribution to the night show. You know, your chats, your messages, your IMs, all of those things. Tomorrow, like I said, is our prepping Thursday. So look forward to that. I always do. I've learned so much, and I got so much more to learn, and I hope you guys are learning as well from the preppers that we get on here for Mark. And now tomorrow, Mark's not going to be here. We're going to have another guest who's going to be filling in for him, and I do apologize in advance. I did not write the name down. Actually, I have a new section of my show prep, tomorrow's show and guests. So we'll be a little bit more diligent. I try not to fly so much from the seat of my pants, but it is a conversation. So tomorrow we will be talking about all things prepping. I look forward to it. Like I said, I've learned so much. And on that note, we talk about heat. We talked about heat last week, and we talked about water, actually, last week's show. In New Jersey, we have this big cold snap. We have so much for global warming, right? And then we'll kind of end the show with this. One of the big issues right now, obviously, we talked about this yesterday, was lack of propane. Heat. I can live without food, but I can't be cold. I don't know about you guys. I can live a few days. I can go a few days without food. Trust me, I got enough storage. But I can't. If I'm cold, I'm miserable, right? And so we did talk about heat and alternative things. But one of the things, and this is just an example of how lawlessness will turn pretty quickly. So we got the shortage of propane going on. There's, obviously we have the cold snap that's going through. We had one here, 50 below. It was incredible. When I was younger, northern Michigan, where my dad was stationed at K.I. Sawyer, I think it was 70 below with the wind chill. That was crazy cold. Well, we are 50 below here with the wind chill. It is incredible. But one of the issues that they're having now in New Jersey are roaming packs of individuals, packs of wolves, roaming packs of individuals, humans, are going and stealing wood piles. That's right, wood piles. And this is and it hasn't hit the fan yet. And we're already seeing that. We're already seeing the lawlessness. It's only a matter of time. It's time that you need to prepare. And the way that you can do that is obviously get out to freedomprepper.com, get out to prepperrecon.com, and also join us here on Thursdays at the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast as we talk about all things prepping. As we wrap up tonight, I just want to say, thank you. May God bless you. May God keep your family safe. You'll always be in our hearts and prayers. Good night, America.
You are listening to PatriotFB.com.